The Acura ILX. Get used to this car because it has officially taken the role as the entry-level model into the Acura brand. The TSX has officially been confirmed that it will be discontinued next year, and the TLX will essentially take the role or take the place of the TSX and the TL. Now, I've shown you guys an ILX before. In fact, I showed you guys this car when it first came out. But today, let's take a look at the 2-liter model more in depth. Now, the 2.4 that's in our long-term fleet is actually at the dealership due for its first service, which is at about 6,500 miles. Now, one of the benefits of owning a luxury brand is the fact that you can go to the dealership, get service done, and they'll usually give you a loaner car free of charge, depending on if you just bought the vehicle from them or how new it is, etc. But it's one of the benefits of, or the perks of having a luxury car. You just can't do this at your local Honda dealership, or if you bought a Toyota. Toyotas don't usually give you loaner cars. But anyways, on to what I have here. This is a 2013 ILX 2.0 with the premium package. You can see it basically looks just like the 2.4 that we have in our long-term fleet. This color is the polished metal metallic. It has the same 17-inch alloy wheels that essentially comes on the premium and the technology package. You get the HID headlights, the fog lights. It kind of looks a little bit bland in the polished metal color for me. Now, when you look at the interior, this is again the polished metal on the black interior. It's nothing really different from the 2.4 that we have. I'm not going to go too much in depth with it. You can see this particular one is a loaner car, so it's rather, I don't want to say abused, but it's seen some hard work in its life. Now, it does have the push button start again, so basically just keep that same Acura key in your pocket or your purse and then push the button to start the engine. And I'll mostly just be touching bases on the differences in the interior here between the tech package and the premium package, and then the 2.4 and the 2-liter. Now you can see the gauges here are white. The 2.4 has the red gauges. Personally, I prefer the red gauges. I think they look much better. This kind of just looks a little bit bland. You can see it has a little gear indicator right below there, which the 2.4 did not. But this is basically what I love about the tech package. I actually really like Acura's technology package. That 8-inch screen is a big improvement over the 5-inch screen that's in the premium package. I'm hoping Acura will just make that 8-inch screen standard on every ILX so you don't have to get the tech package. You can see there's the navigation system. It's a pretty good navigation system. This is Acura's newer map graphics in terms of the display. Honestly, other luxury brands have better looking maps, like for example Audi with their gorgeous Google Maps, BMW has the gorgeous renderings, Infiniti even looks better. But Acura's system is still pretty good. You use this little controller knob here to scroll around the map, and then you have essentially the same Honda Acura interface that they've been using for a while now. To enter a destination, you kind of push destination route, and then you use a little scrolly wheel to choose what you want. It does also have the voice commands. Acura's voice command system is pretty good as well. The premium package does not give you this. For example, I have the temperature set at 70 degrees. If I push this button here,
how would you like to set your
temperature? 72 degrees.
Driver temperature 72 degrees.
And you can see it's pretty accurate in its voice commands. Acura's voice command system is pretty good. With the tech package, you also roll in the ELS audio. This is their 410 watt, 10 speaker ELS surround sound audio. I like this much better than the 7 speaker, just Acura premium sound system. When you also put it in reverse, you get a much more elaborate screen for the backup camera with the different views. You have your top down, you have your wide view, and then you have your normal view. This is just a much better screen, more befitting of a luxury car, and it helps to mask the fact that this is just a Civic. Now, the 2-liter model comes with only a 5-speed automatic with a sport mode. It doesn't have a slap shift gate over here, but you do get paddle shifters on the wheel. It's a decent transmission. It's definitely behind the times. But it does get the power down well. Most people who aren't car enthusiasts won't really care. You still get dual zone automatic climate control. You have a center console here with your USB, or I'm sorry, your power outlet is in there, and then your aux port. The USB actually lives in here, which I kind of think Acura should have put it in there. Looking at the glove compartment, it's the same large size, it's damped, and then the materials are the same stuff, soft touch materials. It's nicely differentiated from a Civic, soft touch on the door panels as well. I mean, honestly, the only thing that reminds me of a Civic maybe is just those vents, but everything else in here is purely Acura. You have the same steering wheel off of the TL, nice red push to start button, and then nicely different contrasts here and there in the interior. Overall, it's a nice place to spend time. Definitely feels like an Acura to me. Now the backseat of the ILX is actually not bad for the class. Surprisingly, you'll find more seat room back here, or more leg room versus the larger TSX, so it was kind of a strange gap in Acura's lineup. There was a little bit of a contrast here, which is why Acura discontinued the TSX. You get a perforated leather, you get an armrest back here. It's an overall decent place to spend time. The only thing that's really going to bother you are taller drivers may hit their head on the roof because of that sloping roofline. The trunk capacity of the ILX is on the smaller side. The seat only folds down in one piece, but you do get a liner. The hinges do crush your cargo, but Acura does put some kind of a cover here to cover up the exposed wiring and such like that. Overall, the trunk of the ILX could use some work for me. And then, of course, going under the hood of the volume engine, this is Acura's 2-liter iVTEC 4-cylinder engine. It's essentially a bored and stroke version of the 1.8-liter in the Honda Civic. It makes 150 horsepower and 140 pound-feet of torque. It runs on premium, but Acura says that it's only recommended. You can't put regular in it. MPG is 2435, running through that 5-speed automatic with front-wheel drive. This is basically just the garden variety commuter car style vehicle or style engine. The 2.4 is definitely the one to go for enthusiasts, but let's take a look at how this 2-liter goes about it doing its business. Now let's face it, most people don't really know how to drive a stick shift, and then those who do prefer not to drive it every day. So where does this leave the 2-liter ILX? This is the volume engine. This is the one that Acura says that most people are going to buy. That's why they only pair it with a 5-speed automatic. How does it drive? Well, the real honest truth is, for most people, this engine is going to drive just fine. The 2-liter has the same characteristic Honda rev happiness. It's very smooth. It's actually a little bit smoother than the 1.8-liter in the Civic. I do notice it does feel a little bit faster. It's got more torque. It revs a little bit quicker. It's more refined sounding than the 1.8 in the Civic. The 5-speed automatic goes about doing shifting the same way a Honda Civic does. I like the sport mode. It does hold gears much better. The paddle shifters that are on this one work pretty well. I mean, you can't get this kind of sport mode or paddle shifters in the Honda Civic at all. And in terms of the ride and handling, the ILX is still very nice. It's got a very comfortable, compliant ride. I do notice, compared to the 2.4, the steering feels a little bit lighter in this car. It just feels like it's softer. One thing that's also missing is the predominant engine noise or exhaust note that's in the 2.4. This is just a little too quiet for my taste. Going around corners, the transmission does a good job of responding to your right foot going to the floor, so it's a nicely tuned automatic transmission. Again, with the 2-liter, expect 0 to 60 times of maybe around 9 seconds. It is sluggish on paper. Fortunately, at least when you're actually behind the wheel, the car does feel a little bit more sprightly than its numbers would suggest. To be honest though, I think if Acura wants to be competitive with the semi-premium entry-level compact sport luxury sedan class, they need to update this 2-liter. It should be pushing at least 170 horsepower, to be honest. I mean, Audi's new A3 has a 1.8-liter turbo and that makes 170 horsepower. I think at 170 horsepower and then at 40 mpg highway rating, the 2-liter would make sense. I think Acura definitely needs to put a 6-speed automatic with this car, but to be honest, Acura and Honda haven't really been showing us a 4-cylinder engine with a 6-speed auto. They've instead been going the route of 4-cylinder with a CVT. I'm hoping that won't be the case for the Acura products with a 4-cylinder, but we just don't know yet. When you are just cruising along, the 2-liter is very quiet. The ILX is very quiet. The road noise in here is pretty hushed. The engine revs nice and low. It actually revs a lot lower and it's quieter than the 2.4. So this is kind of more befitting of a luxury sedan. You expect it to be quieter, and this one definitely is quieter. In terms of handling compared to a Civic, the ILX does feel a little bit sportier, although the steering is much lighter and it has a little bit less feedback than a Civic, surprisingly. I wasn't expecting that for the Acura version. Acura is supposed to be known for their sportier cars, and this feels like it's tuned more for luxury, which is, I guess, what Acura was thinking the Generation Y buyers who buy this car are probably looking for. They're looking for something that's luxury, that's very, that isolates you from the the, I guess, the noises of the outside world. Again, for most people, for 90% of Americans who want a luxury sedan, this will probably be enough for them. And for those of you who are trading up from your Civic, you guys will probably like this car a lot. So with all that said, here are my final recommendations for the ILX. If you're going to go for the 2-liter model, the tech package for me is definitely worth it. In fact, Acura, even though this car is stickered at about $32,300 for a tech package, don't expect to be paying anything close to that. Acura actually puts really good deals on the ILX, and there's also really good financing available. So to be honest, if you're comparing this car to the competition, the ILX is still cheaper, even though a lot of people say, oh, it's got a $5,000 premium over a Civic, but again, it doesn't really feel like a Civic when you're driving the car. It feels very Acura, and the tech features in here is quite nice. I mean, I like this center stack layout here on the technology package. So for those of you who do want something more premium, something that's not a vehicle that your parents are likely to drive, like a Honda Accord, I definitely would recommend the ILX. Personally, though, for the enthusiasts, go with the 2.4 and 6-speed model. You definitely will be glad you did. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all later.